All right, so the fifth environment is the regulatory environment, also called political legal environment. These are the regulations or restrictions that the government places on businesses with regard to the code of its activities, how they are supposed to perform their business, how they are supposed to do in their business. That's what these regulations are for. Now, because politics is what influences regulation, these are also called political legal environment. This environment is also called political legal environment. Now, there are four stages in government regulation in the US, and we're going to discuss all of these stages or phases as we call them one by one. So the phase one, the first phase is anti-monopoly phase. This had started in 1890, as you can see, and we had several acts under this anti-monopoly phase. The first one that was created was Sherman Act. Basically, under this act, the industry was not allowed to have a monopoly. So this Sherman Act basically outlaws monopolies, and it does not allow in an industry to have a monopoly. And this was in favor of consumers because, as we have discussed before, that there used to be production era where the suppliers used to be more than, the sellers used to be less than the number of buyers they had. So they could do whatever they wanted to do. They had the monopoly in the business. They could do whatever they wanted to do because they knew that the consumers are only going to come to them for the products, for this single or a few organizations to satisfy their needs. And that's what this Sherman Act did. This basically um, was against the monopolies in interest of the consumers. The next one was the Clayton Act, which basically strengthened Sherman Act, the outlawing monopoly act, where what used to happen is that the companies used to, just for the sake of it, they found a loophole in the act, and just for the sake of be documented in that way, in the way Sherman Act wanted them to be. They would just, acquire companies, and then in that way they would lessen the competition because the mergers and acquisitions between companies would occur, and that would lessen competition. And that is what Sherman Act was against. It didn't want to lessen the competition, because if the competition between organizations, between businesses is low, then they don't want to listen to the consumer. So Clayton Act basically revised, it was kind of a revision of Sherman Act, and it wanted to strengthen the act and prohibited anti-competitive practices. That's what it called it. Anti-competitive practices were not allowed. So also the companies found a loophole. What they would do is they would open up two different companies and then direct them both, and then kind of still have a monopoly. So that was again something that was prohibited under Clayton Act. Next was the Federal Trade Commission Act, and I'm just going to read this in order to understand this act. I'm just going to read these pictures over here. We need to verify your credit card number, and then they say don't take the bait, protect your financial information. The other one is eat the tasty lure, and somebody says be careful, it could be a phishing mail. So and you can, I think you must have had some experiences where you've had these either calls or emails or mails where somebody is trying to call you for something, and basically trying to steal something or the other, whether it's the information, or money, or some kind of um, benefit that they want to steal from you. And Federal Trade Commission Act was basically intended to educate citizens about all of these tactics and tell them that this is what you have to be careful about. So this was phase one. Um, and phase two started in 1930s, was the competitor protection. And under this phase, the first act, that is Robinson-Pacman Act, um, prohibited the sale or purchase of identical goods at different prices. What that meant was that in order to protect the competitors, in order to protect that the organizations and the consumers, um, what was done in this act was that the organizations having similar kind of products, selling similar products, um, could not sell it at completely different prices. I mean, you could have different prices within a range, but you could not go beyond that range. So you could, let's say, sell one product, a certain product from, let's say, $10 to $15. So that's the range you have. One business, one organization can sell it at $10, the other one can sell it at 12, the other one can sell it at 15. That's fine, but nobody could sell it beyond that range. Nobody could sell it at 9 or 16, let's say, just for example. So that was this act about, Robinson-Patman Act. The next one was the Miller-Tidings Resale Price Maintenance Act. In this act, this was about when the producers or the manufacturers would sell their products to retailers like Walmart, or like Best Buy. All of these are retailers. The manufacturers or the producers are the companies who really manufacture the product. Right? For example, in Best Buy, we have all the electronic manufacturers like LG, Sony, Apple, all of these manufacturers. Now, in this act, what they said is that uh, when, let's say, when LG sells their product through Best Buy, it has to sell it to Best Buy first. So LG sells the products to Best Buy, and then Best Buy further sells the products to the consumer. So uh, this act, what it did is it prevented Best Buy to sell LG's products on their own, whatever price they wanted to sell. It protected that. It did not let the retailers sell the manufacturer's products on their own set prices. This was about making agreements between producers and retailers, and they have to decide, and the manufacturers have to let the retailers sell only within a range their products. So, for example, if LG sells any electronic device, let's say for $200 to Best Buy, Best Buy cannot sell that product for $1,000 to the customers. That's an agreement that this act legalized between the producers and the retailers. So LG would tell Best Buy that I'm selling it to you for $200. You can only sell it up to, let's say, $350 to the consumer, to the final consumer. This was mainly to protect the brand, because the organization also had to have some kind of say in what the resale price is going to be. So that was about Miller-Tidings Resale Price Maintenance Act. So these were the two acts that were created in phase two. Now, phase three started, phase two and phase three was kind of going side by side. As I said before, that this was about protecting competition and also protecting the consumer. So in phase three, as we call it, we had first one, Federal Food and Drug Act. Basically, the food products or the medical products, these are also products, and these are also where we can uh, do marketing. And that's why FDA, Federal Food and Drug Act, uh, provided federal inspection of food products and medicines, basically to protect the consumers of any harm that could be done by these businesses. The next one is the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act, and you'll see all the food products that you buy. You'll always see nutrition or nutrition facts on it, and you'll never see a product that does not have information about nutrition, about what's in it, what are the ingredients, how much is it, what percentage, and all that. So that's because of, you'll not see even a single product that does not have it. That's because of Nutrition Labeling and Education Act. You have to have this information on the packaging. And the third one is Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. This, as the name suggests, was for protecting the privacy of children who would go online and could be on their own and nobody supervising them. So that was again to protect the consumers, to protect children. And the last phase that started in 1978, phase 4, was about deregulation, uh, which basically means the government used to control everything before this, but not everything, but the airlines and the telecommunications that we're going to talk about. But after 1978, the it got the deregulation phase came in, and then we have so many private players in the market now for the airline industry, and you can see the numbers here. US airlines have 97% more flights, 168% more passengers, and 301% more cargo, and 88% more employees since deregulation in 1978. And this is an old data actually. You can see it's in on November 6, 2013. This was collected, this information was collected, but even then you could see that how much changed since the deregulation, and that was a good thing to do. The same with telecommunications. It got uh, the private players in picture. We have AT&T, we have all those players, Verizon, and all those players now in the market, and that's because of the deregulation that occurred in 1978. So these were the four phases or four stages of government regulation in US. We should have an idea as a marketer. We should have an idea about all of these phases. We should have, even though if we do not remember them properly, but we should at least know that all of these acts exist. Okay. Now, we talked about deregulation, which is basically taking away the government taking away its control over these industries. Uh, and that brings us to self-regulation, which is an alternative to government control, where an industry attempts to police itself. So if there is no control over an industry, I don't know what's going to happen to that industry. So that's why self-regulation is kind of important, because we want to see that everything is being done in the way it should be. So we need to have some kind of policing to be done on any industry, and that's why self-regulation. For example, for the American advertising industry, for self-regulation, they've created these associations, American Advertising Association, which is an association, a self-regulation association, where it tries to police the industry, the American advertising industry, and see that if everything is being followed as per the norms and as per the code of ethics, which we're going to talk about later in this video. All right, and the next topic that we're going to talk about is marketing ethics and corporate social responsibility, and we'll start off with social responsibility. So what is social responsibility? Is the idea that the organizations or the businesses, these are part of a larger society. So if you see an organization, it's first of all in its own form, it's present in the society, right? You have internal to the organization, you have employees who are working for the organization. External to the organization, you have, if you have a building, you have people living around. If it's a physical, setup, you have people who are living around this physical setup, or there are consumers. So organization kind of is a part of society, of a larger society, because there are people involved, and these are all uh, these are all a responsibility of the organization, and that's why the organization is accountable to that society for its actions. So that's what the concept of social responsibility is. The corporate social responsibility basically is that the corporation, that the organization is responsible or accountable to the society for its actions. So that's a concept that we should know. Now there's a 4-step pyramid of corporate social responsibility, and we're going to start from the bottom. We see economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic, and we're going to discuss them one by one. So economic basically is the organization has to be profitable. I mean, that's the foundation of everything else in an organization. If the organization is not profitable, and we have to know this. Even though when we talk about marketing, we say that we have to start with the consumer. Consumer comes first. Consumer is God, and so on. But at the end, you also have to understand that when we are doing all of this, we also have to sustain. We have to be profitable. We have to make some money so that everything else follows. If we do not make money, if we do not make profit, then there's no business. If there is no business, then there's no point talking about anything else. So the first one is economic, the foundation of this whole thing. That is, we have to be profitable. The second one is legal, which means that we have to obey the law. So in order to be profitable, we don't want to do something that's unlawful. We have to follow the law. We have to obey the law. And the law is going to tell us what is right and what is wrong, and we have to follow it all. The third one is ethical. That is, the organizations need to be ethical. What do you mean by ethical? It's not in the law, but it's an obligation to do what is right, just, and fair. The organization wants to do everything that is right, just, and fair to the organization, to the employees, to the customers, to the society, to everybody around the organization, and to avoid harm. We don't want to harm anybody or anything while we are in that business. And the last one is philanthropic. So we want to be a good corporate citizen. We want to contribute resources to the community and improve quality of life. So we want to um, uh, produce goods. We want to produce products and services that improve quality of life of customers. We want to um, be a good organization by providing quality of life to our employees, and so on. So, and at the end, improving quality of life for everybody, for improving the quality of life for everyone in the larger society. So that's the top of the pyramid where we want to reach. We want to be profitable, we want to be economic, we want to be legal, we want to obey the law, we want to do everything in the law, we want to be ethical, and at the end we want to be philanthropic. That is, we want to be a good corporate citizen. So these are the 4 steps that we need to follow in corporate social responsibility. Now, we're going to talk about a few terminologies before we end. We're going to talk about green marketing, cause marketing, and code of ethics. Starting off with green marketing. I don't know if you've heard of this before or not, but these days this is very popular. Green marketing is very popular amongst businesses, which is basically about protection, promotion, and reclamation of environmentally sensitive products. So we want to be we want to care about the environment, and the marketing strategies that are based on that are all a part of green marketing. For example, the Ford marketing company, it promotes its recycling and environmental efforts because it says that they are, they're going for green marketing. That is, they're working towards the benefit of the environment, or they're at least not trying to harm the environment. Now you'll see all these recycling, eco-friendly, organic, all this is a part of green marketing, which is basically protecting the environment. Next is cause marketing. This occurs when the charitable contributions of a firm are tied directly to the customer revenues produced through the promotion of one of its products, of at least one of its products. For example, Walmart has this Feeding America campaign, working together for hunger relief. As you can see in the picture, what they do is, a part of their only the products that are participating products. If you buy those, if the customers buy those, they, a part of their profits, they share it towards they donate it towards this Feeding America campaign, and that's cause marketing. You're working towards a cause. You're working towards a charitable, um, you know, uh, charitable cause. So that's cause marketing. The third one is code of ethics that we wanted to talk about, which is a formal statement of ethical principles and rules of conduct. So when we talked about the pyramid of corporate social responsibility, we talked about obeying laws, which are written laws. You anytime have a question, you can just ask an attorney, or refer to the books, and you'll know what is right and what is wrong. But as far as the ethics is concerned, you don't have a book for each and every situation wherein you can go and refer to universally, and it's going to tell you, or nationally or statewide, or no, it doesn't come from the government, but you don't have the laws anywhere, or the ethics principles anywhere, so ethical principles anywhere. So this code of ethics is kind of an attempt to do that. It's an attempt to formalize what's right and wrong, and what's ethical, basically. So that's this code of ethics is created by either organizations individually, or the associations that they are a part of, or the self-regulation, as we talked about before, those associations, or that an industry is a part of. So that those are the rules of conduct that are given to the organizations that they have to follow if they are a part of these associations. For example, the American Marketing Association's Code of Ethics, you can see here. This is all the marketing activities. If they are a part of AMA, American Marketing Association, they have to follow these. You have they give you in they describe to the marketers about all of these pointers. I've just put the topics in here, not put the whole explanation that what you're supposed to do in there, but they basically tell you about the responsibilities of the marketer, their professional conduct, honesty and fairness, rights and duties of parties in the marketing exchange process, and organizational relationships. So they basically give a description of all of these to their members, so that they kind of have an idea of what is right and what's wrong, or what they're supposed to do. So that's what code of ethics is about. And that ends our chapter. We basically learned about 5 external environmental forces in this chapter. We talked about competitive forces, economic forces, technological forces, socio-cultural forces, and at the end we talked about regulatory forces. So these were the 5 external environmental forces, which, if you remember, we talked about this before, these are uncontrollable forces, these are uncontrollable factors, but these can impact the organization. These do impact the organizations, in fact, and the organization also impact them in turn. Then we talked about corporate social responsibility, and we discussed some terminologies like green marketing, cause marketing, and code of ethics in this chapter.